Alright guys, so here's the main fuse box. Okay, so there's a few short things that we need to do to it before it's ready to go in the harness box and ready to get put on the car. Okay, so the first thing is this bracket right here. Okay, so we need to bolt both these panels together. So there is a certain way it needs to go on, just like this. Okay, and the bolts you're going to use are 8, 10, 32 stainless button heads, and they take a 1/8 inch Allen to put them in. Okay, now this one.
Do you know if there are any 9-volt batteries around here? Never mind. Do you know if...
I'm filming a wiki right now.
Shit.
Okay, so now that is done, the next thing you're going to need to do is these two holes right here are going to need to be tapped with an 832 tap. Okay, so I've already actually done it, so that's why I'm not doing it in the video, but these two guys right here are your flashers. Okay, so and your flashers get mounted to those two holes, just like that. Okay, so these ones are 832 Allens, so don't get them confused with your 1032s. And these take a 3/32 Allen. Okay, so now everything is bolted up, and now we just need to load up our fuse panels. Okay, so there's 4 different amp ranges of fuses that we're going to use. So we have 20 amp mini fuses, 25 amp mini fuses, 15 amp mini fuses, and 30 amp mini fuses. And when you put these in, make sure these numbers are clear, but it tells you what amperage the fuses are, and just make sure all the numbers are going the same way so you can read them all. So make sure one's not upside down or anything, because that's just makes it harder to understand. Okay, so your right hand fuse panel, it'll go 25 amp, 25 amp, 15 amp, 25 amp, 20 amp, 20 amp, 20 amp, 15 amp, 30 amp, 30 amp. Okay, and then let me go ahead and finish off your left hand. Okay, and your left hand fuse panel will be 25 amp, 25 amp, 15 amp, 25 amp, 25 amp, 20 amp, 25 amp, 25, sorry, back it up. you have 25 amp, 25 amp, 15 amp, 25 amp, 25 amp, 30 amp, 25 amp, 25 amp, 20 amp, 20 amp. Okay, so now all your fuses are in. Now we have to install the relays. So on your right hand panel, okay, you have one big relay, okay, and the rest you can see are not as big, so they're smaller. Okay, so your big relay goes on the bottom. Okay, and what helps me sometimes is to make sure they go in the right way is if you look in the panel, you can kind of see where the actual pins are. That kind of helps make sure you don't put it in the wrong place. Okay, and now you have two types of small relays. Okay, so there is a 1224 and an 1139. Okay, so in your right hand panel you actually have two 1224s and one 1139. Okay, so your first one will be a 1224. Your second one is an 1139. And then your third one is another 1224. Okay, and in your left hand, you only have three 1224s. Okay, so there's both panels loaded and ready to go. Okay, now the last thing is our flashers. Okay, so these are your actual flashers, so it makes the noise when you click the flasher on. Okay, so these go in just like this. Okay, and then your final step, and then you'll be all done, just go ahead and put your covers on. And there you go, your fuse panel's all done.